This is Chad. It is a landlocked nation in northern Africa that was once the home to great salt trading kingdoms, a multitude of cultural tribes, and ecological diversity. However, this once majestic region of the Sahel Desert has become so degraded and oppressed throughout recent history that it has become a site of desperation, injustice, and environmental chaos. In the past 40 years, the 180 known ethnic groups of Chad have become locked in conflict for survival and freedom as the groups of southern Chad fight against those in the north to end oligarchic regimes. The ever-present confusion contributes to the absence of human rights, an unfunctioning justice system, no peace, and little hope. However, the toll of the conflict has not only been burdened by the people of Chad, but more so by the land that they live on. Constant drought, overfarming, desertification, and the resulting water crisis has made the people of Chad desperate, and many resort to violence to acquire the resources necessary to survive. Chad, and other regions of the Sahel Desert, have descended into a political and humanitarian vacuum. In the past, the main source of sustenance and peace throughout the region was Lake Chad, a broad, shallow concentration of fresh water in the Chad drainage basin. Once one of the largest lakes in Africa, it provided the local human and animal populations with water not only for sanitation, but also for farming and the other necessities of life. Unfortunately, the water source that has nurtured the Sahel Desert since Paleolithic times has nearly disappeared. Even though the Sahel is a dry region that is prone to drought and seasonal water changes, multiple severe droughts in conjecture with the civil war weakened the country of Chad to nearly irreparable extents. Due to war, drought, over-irrigation, and over-farming, maintenance and respect for the lake and its tributaries have become non-existent. Local weeds and vegetation had crept past the shorelines, farther preventing the flow of water into Lake Chad. Lake Chad has lost 95% of its surface area between the years 1963 and 1998. The deficiency of water in the region has caused the breakdown of Chad's agriculturally based economy. Outbreaks of rebel groups and unsatisfied citizens have weakened the government and made it oppressive. As most of the country's jails are now too expensive to maintain, past convicts run amok. Furthermore, the harsh conditions of the desert region have forced many citizens to turn to delinquency and join groups that operate outside the now unenforced laws. To demonstrate the futile conditions of the region surrounding Lake Chad, let us listen to a story about a boy, a member of the Kanembu ethnic group. A boy named Tandal Bol Dulak. Tandal was born in 1984 and has spent all of his life in a compound along the outskirts of Lake Chad. He lives with his mother and other members of his distant family. His father was born a herder and would escort goat herds from town to town in order to support his family. After Chad was engaged in a civil war between three potential leaders, the country was put under control of a prime minister named Hissène Habré, who pushed military forces from the north to southern Chad to put an end to rebel conflict. It was then, in 1987, that Tandal's father was killed in a crossfire between several factions. Tandal was born in a small concentrated community for safety from rebel raids. Most of his family's herds and those of his tribe have either been stolen to provide food for soldiers or have died from a lack of water and vegetation. In order to sustain themselves, he and his mother must try to farm the merciless land, which is deprived of nitrogen and cracked with dehydration. The soil is now more sand than dirt. In order to acquire the precious liquid, water must be drawn from Lake Chad, otherwise citizens must travel long distances to wells. Such a travel is both dangerous and tenacious, as Chad, a country roughly the size of California, only has 25,000 miles of both paved and unpaved roads. In comparison, the U.S. state of Connecticut has 20,000 miles exclusively in paved highways. Even as he toiled in his fields as a child, Tandal wished to become educated, which would provide escape to a better life. However, his wish was forbidden by his mother. This prohibition would eventually save Tandal's life. The local school was a long walk from his compound, one that risked kidnapping or death. Due to these conditions, more than half of Chad's population is illiterate. Several years later, the school was attacked and burned to the ground. Tandil continued to live his life in this way and eventually married another Kanembu woman. They had 5 children, but only 2 survived to this day. His first child died shortly after childbirth. His third child contracted meningitis from a contaminated pool of water at the age of 2. His fourth child perished at the age of 5 due to nutrient deficiencies. Without water, the way of life of Tandil's nomadic ancestors is lost, and his country is little more than a dictatorial regime being challenged by equally harsh rebel groups. Without water, the cultivation of land and animals is impossible, and Chad's economy is forever without an agrarian base. Without water, the people of the Sahel Desert are continuously driven towards delinquency, crime, and violence. Without water, people starve and thirst and die. Without water, Tandil Bol Dulak senses the desert close in and grip his homeland. Many solutions have been conceived to bring water back to the Sahel Desert and other parts of northern Africa. For instance, a proposal was made to build a dam on the Congo River and reroute the water to northern Africa. This plan would have cost approximately $5 million. The construction was abandoned shortly after it was started. This is a fortunate decision, as the dam would have likely had unpredicted effects upon the environment of Central Africa. However, the most utilized solution is the construction of wells maintained by both non-profit organizations and the citizens of Chad, over aquifers that have been found beneath the Sahel Desert to provide a sustainable source of water. Water for Chad is such a non-profit organization that plans to construct wells and plant nitrogen-restoring trees in the soil, not only to restore soil quality, but also to prevent the farther spread of desertification. The organization also aims to encourage the people of the region to stop irrigation in the tributaries of Lake Chad. These projects will be developed throughout southern Chad and the region of the country in most desperate need of help, and specifically around Lake Chad. Water for Chad also plans to redeem the lake as the heart and soul of the Sahel Desert by removing the rampant weeds and plants that have encroached upon the receding shorelines, preventing water from flowing and therefore causing water stagnation. One such weed, a species of cattail known as scientific name Typha australis, is growing at particularly excessive rates. It silts the lake and riverbeds so much that the groundwater and surface water are unable to replenish each other in alternating seasons. If Water for Chad is able to implement the tools necessary in some villages, ethanol can be produced from the weeds and silt can be used to fertilize poor soil. Furthermore, multiple parts of the cattail weed are nutrient-rich and can be used as a food source for locals. Please support Water for Chad by following our Twitter account and by visiting our website. Also consider buying a Save Lake Chad t-shirt or by providing a donation. If you are interested in volunteering or contributing to the cause, please contact our headquarters. Remember, all contributions go towards a better future for the Sahel Desert. A donation of any sort may very well bring hope to the inhabitants around Lake Chad and to the continuation of the dream that someday the region and the associated cultures will be brought to the peace and majesty they once so rightfully entitled.